Swing, 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 swing. Low switch up, get caught, take me home, cause I've been in exile from Apple to Rome, and it's been so long since I see my land, so come save your sheep with your mighty hand as the waters cold in the dark of night. Yes, the time has come to see the sun's light, while some fight for wealth, we fight for liberty, so to overcome the word is gonna take you and me to bring forth the kingdom, which is our ultimate goal. That's why we're telling Pharaoh to let our people go. Let our people go. Let our people go.
Swing
Go. Go. Let our people go. 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 Let our people go.
Swing low, chariot, take me home. Swing low, chariot, take me home.
Hallelujah. Yitkadal va yitkadesh shemei roba. Be'amadi barak herote va yemelech malchute. V'chayechun uvyamichun uvchaye de kol beit Yisrael. Bagala vizman kari vimeru. Amen. Yeheshmei rabba mavorach leolam ulme almaya. Yit barak va yishtabach. V'yipa'ar v'yit roman v'yit naseh. V'yit chadar v'yit alei v'yit halal. Shemei de kudesha berechu. Le'ela min kol barakata v'shirota tushbechata v'nechmata. Damiran ba'alma. Vimeru. Amen. Magnified and sanctified may his great name be in the world he created by his will. May he establish his kingdom in your lifetime and in your days, and in the lifetime of all the house of Israel, swiftly and soon. And let us say Amen. May his great name be blessed forever and all time. Blessed and praised, esteemed and exalted, raised and honored, uplifted and lauded be the name of the Holy One. Blessed be he, beyond any blessing, song, praise, and consolation uttered in the world. And let us say Amen. Hallelujah. You are tuned in now to Hebrew Vision Live, where Yah is our Elohim and Yahoshua is Mashiach. We also strive to elevate consciousness in Torah with Mashiach. We want to thank each and every one of our listeners for tuning in. The song you just heard was our theme song. We play it every time we come on the air. It is called Let My People Go by Sister Nakia Bat Yahuda featuring Nehemiah Ben Yasharun. We have a sister by the name of Yaleach Bat Yahuda, and yours truly, Mikael Corbin Yahu. Today we have a very, very dynamic show. All of our shows are dynamic. Let's not really sleep on that. But we have a brother who is putting in some serious work. I'm about to get him on the line right now, and we're going to talk with this dynamic brother who is the 2016 recipient of the Charles Miller Award. You on the line, my brother?
Yes, sir.
All right, we got Dre Taylor. Kansas City's own Dre Taylor on the line this evening. How you doing, sir?
I'm pretty good. And yourself?
Man, I'm well. I want to thank you first and foremost for, taking time out of your tremendously busy schedule to be with us this evening here on Hebrew Vision Live, man. It's truly an honor to converse with you, knowing all you're doing for the community, man. So just start off and let people know who's Dre Taylor, man. Give us a little background about Dre Taylor.
Background. Let me see here. Born in Kansas City, inner city, 51st and Warren. We moved out to the suburbs. My mother wanted to seek a better life, I suppose. So we moved out to Johnson County. Finished our school there. Played football. Went to Coffeyville.
Oh, okay.
Went to MU. Played. Messed up my knee. Came home, worked. And just been putting in work in the community ever since maybe 2008, I believe. I think I started mentoring with Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. That's what's up, man. We got a lot of similar backgrounds, man. I grew up on 35th and Agnes, moved out to Johnson County, went to Shawnee Mission South for a year, ended up playing football in University of Maine, blowing my knee out. So I can relate to you, brother. I can relate.
Right.
That's deep, man. That's deep. So what was it like growing up for you, man? I mean, as far as that transition, what was your experience like in that?
It was different. I never really adapted to that atmosphere and the suburban life to city life.
Mm-hmm.
So, I adapted, but it wasn't, what I preferred. We
Right.
just had to do it because, that's where mom wanted me to live. So
Yeah.
I always felt at home in the city,
Right.
so
Right. Do you think
that's
that
why I live in the city today.
there were any benefits that you gained from moving to the suburbs at all, or do you think it was just more like just lessons? Period. You could have got the same thing in the city.
No, I think it was a lot of benefits. I think it increased my chance of survival.
Hmm.
When I look at, half of my friends that I grew up with are dead,
My goodness.
and the education system isn't what it was,
Mm-hmm.
in Johnson County as it is in the city, and so it was advantages of living out there.
Right.
Uh, that I see, it gave me a better opportunity, I can say, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Do this
Mm-hmm.
on the things I'm doing, especially, in the city. Didn't have no good football programs in the city, but I guess, that helped out there. But there were advantages, socially, I guess, and educationally. Uh, they was there. We just decided to feel at home out there.
Yeah, I understand that wholeheartedly, my brother. Oh, wholeheartedly. So you talk about you started out with big brothers and sisters mentoring. What was that step in your life like? As far as how did that prepare you to get into some of the future endeavors that you actually launch? And we'll get into that as well. But how did big brothers and big sisters prepare you and groom you for what it is that you're doing now?
Uh, I went to see Barack Obama's speech when he was campaigning, and just one thing he resonated was like, "Be the change you want to see."
Mm.
I didn't necessarily believe in Barack or the system, but the message resonated with me. I took out of it what I wanted to take out of it, being the change you want to see. So, I immediately went out and said, let me start mentoring. Because of the stuff I've been through, and growing up, and even though I grew up with a stepfather, both my grandfathers and my fathers in my life, I thought I could, have an effect on a young man's life. So I started with Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
When I did that, I noticed the lack of African American, not only males but females, as mentors or bigs as they call them in the program.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go to events, and it would be maybe 100 or so people there, with maybe 5 or so black or white mentors or bigs, with about half of the kids that was black.
Mm.
So it was like eye-opening experience, and I'm thinking like, where are we at? We packing the clubs up, the churches is packed, the liquor stores are packed on Fridays, the concerts are packed. But when it's time to mentor our kids and do what we're supposed to do, then why aren't we mentoring?
Mm.
And so it was a real eye-opening experience for me to see, and that will kind of set the tone for me to start my mentoring program.
Okay. Okay. So now that we get into that, males to men, let's talk about the inception of that as far as in your thoughts and how that all materialized into reality. I think it's important for people to hear that because there may be someone listening who has a similar vision or similar goal or just a dream that may be completely different. But seeing and hearing someone who's accomplished this, and the steps that they took to get to there is important. So would you mind sharing that for our listeners?
Yeah, I work with a couple other mentoring groups around the city. Before I actually started my group, so I would see things that I liked, some things I didn't like, and I said, what, let me start my own program. I don't think it can be too many mentoring programs, so I put the call out on Facebook. I promoted it. Back in 2013, we're coming up on our fourth year in April, our fourth anniversary. But I put the call on Facebook, and I had about 4 brothers show up, for the mentoring program, and I had one kid show up, and it's like I couldn't even post the pictures on Facebook because it was like we only had one kid show up for mentoring,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was tough, but we kept sticking through it. So one kid led to two led to three. Now we done had over maybe 80 kids come through our program, mentoring. It's a self-funded program. We haven't received funds for our program.
Wow.
We have been solely, operating out of our pockets, networking, create partnerships. And so a lot of people think that, you need money to start, a program or to that nature.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing you can do is give time and effort, commitment.
Right.
It's a lot of these kids, man, that people make promises and don't keep.
Mm-hmm.
But, with males to men, every Monday and Wednesday we're going to be there like clockwork. So this is a promise we make, to our youth. On Mondays we don't watch Monday Night Football. Wednesdays, whatever's happening on TV, whatever's going on, we still there, mentoring. And so this is a commitment that me and some of the guys made to the youth in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like, these are the people who's gonna grow up and marry somebody's daughter. This is somebody's gonna grow up and be somebody's father. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're trying to prepare the future with the young man that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's a lot of other things we do with our program, but we're trying to set the tone for entrepreneurship, do for self, sense of community, being sustainable, being a man. It's called Males to Men, and our mission is to raise strong, conscious, productive young men and reestablish accountable and productive leadership in the community.
Powerful.
And so that's essentially what we're trying to do with our young men.
Mm-hmm. So let me get this right. You said there's no funding you receive, so you're not 501c3 or just LLC. Do you have any type of status?
We haven't been an LLC for 3 years.
Wow.
The 501c3 is coming. We just filed for 501c3 because of the issue we had with the greenhouse project.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to file our own to get the greenhouse going, and so Males to Men fall underneath that. So that's why we now finally doing a 501c3 is to get that going for the greenhouse purposes.
Right. Okay, just more for protection purposes and things like that, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Basically with the land and the greenhouse, and in order to get it, I had to have my own 501c3.
Okay.
And a settlement that we had to reach.
Yeah. Now, that's deep. So let's talk about some of the programs. You mentioned some of it prior to that, just briefly as far as what the mission is and things like that. But let's talk about some of the things that you all are out in the community doing. And I think it's important for people to hear this because it's remarkable from what I heard at Kwanzaa, and we're going to talk about that too shortly.
Yeah, some of the things that my boys do, they work at this past summer and spring, they worked at the city market doing a tomato taxi, and they basically had wagons, and they was help people with their produce or products they bought at the city market, and they worked off a tip. So they made around $7,000 for a 7-month period. About 20 something plus boys who was able to get out there and work for themselves and speak up and have jobs. See what it was like. So they had to do had to go over a job interview, had to wear the right clothes, and do an interview process to get the job. And so there was ages from 7 to 15 out there hustling, on a Saturday and Sunday, every Saturday and Sunday for 7 months. And so the city market asked us to come back this year.
That's awesome.
To work down there. So we'll look to do bigger, better things at the city market. So you'll see my boys down there. So if you down there, support them. Help them out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Another thing we've done, we got partnership with Lincoln University. So they're working with our aquaculture, which is raising fish. And so we even sent about 6 or 7 boys down to Lincoln for 9 days to learn about horticulture, aquaculture, processing fish, camping, water testing. So they learned a whole bunch of things that they can bring back and help out the greenhouse.
Mm-hmm. What were their ages?
We have a partnership with Pinnacle. What was that?
What were the boys' ages that went down to LU?
The ages was 12 to 16.
Wow. So they getting it young. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so we're trying to set them up, for, possible scholarships if that's what they want to do, if that's what they into.
Mm-hmm.
And so we try to be that bridge between where they are and where they're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, kids on islands, man, where they stuck, they want to do something, but don't know how to get there, don't know how. Nobody's reaching out to save them and say, man, this is the way. So we try to put them in position to say, what do you want to do? Well, this is how we're going to help you get there. And so, we talk to them, we ask them, what do you want to do? Well, this is what it's going to take to get there. And so we try to bridge that gap. It comes to my another point. I was mentoring for another program, like a basketball league, and they wanted me to come in and mentor as part of a requirement for the boys to play basketball. And a kid was like, he wanted to be a pilot. So I was asking him about, what it is to make him want to be a pilot. And he started talking about Bessie Coleman,
Wow.
Tuskegee Airmen, and some other things. And he's probably about 10 or 11 years old. So he's done his research. And so I never thought to be a pilot. So I reached out to Facebook community and said, hey, anybody know a pilot? Somebody reached out to me, and it was actually an air traffic controller, the manager over the whole air traffic controller, and he talked to us, and he led us to a pilot, the Black Pilot Association. So we joined up with the Black Pilot Association. We had 35 plus boys fly in 6 private planes owned by Black pilots around Kansas City. So they flew over Worlds of Fun, Arrowhead Stadium, the Plaza, and downtown, free of charge.
That is
About
awesome.
35 plus kids. So they got the experience, being in a private plane and see Black people owning planes. It's at least about 15 to 20 people here that's Black that own planes. And so who would ever thought that you can actually own a plane? And there's people that own planes in Kansas City, and that's one of our goals is actually to own a plane or lease a plane to try to give at least 6 kids to get their pilot license before they graduate high school. So we setting our goals pretty high. We sent a couple of kids up to Oshkosh, Wisconsin to actually learn how to fly for like a week program. So we did one of some of the things that we do. We have a partnership with Pinnacle Career Institute, so we sent some kids up to Pinnacle to learn about AC/DC power, heating and cooling, wind and solar energy technology, and first aid. And so we're just trying to experience different things with our boys and show them, a different way of life. And eventually we'll get into traveling. So we just had a meeting last night and talked about the China trip and said we need to get our passports. How cool would it be? I got some boys and they get their passports and, they give them hope and vision to see some things in the world to say, now I got this passport, now I can use it. It's a lot of people who never leave the city. You'd be surprised if people never leave the city where they're from, or the neighborhood, and never experience these different things. So I want to get the boys to see a global market instead of being, local consumer, but a global
perspective
partner, I guess.
Yeah. That's dope.
Instead of a local consumer.
Yeah. Global citizen more. Yeah, I got you, brother. That's rich. That's real rich. So I also saw in some of your pictures, man, you take them out hunting. Is that hunting or y'all just learning to shoot? What's the situation with that?
Yeah, we did that. We did a gun safety, and it's important that we put guns in their hands in a safe environment. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, and maybe 10 times out of 10, when in the inner city, if you come across a gun, it's in a negative environment. There's no adult around, there's no supervision, or you're seeing something bad happen with that firearm. And so, one of the things we wanted to do was teach them gun safety, get them familiarized with the gun, the impact of it. And so we had a guy that was here, he was from out of town, a guy named Eric Williams, I believe his last name was, but he was with the Black Wolf Hunter Association. And so, we came in, we did a gun safety class twice, and we went out to the shooting range and shot out there. And we took, a group of select kids out to hunt pheasants. And so they went out pheasant hunting and got to see what that was like. So, which was exciting to a lot of them. So
Right.
it's just some of the things you just exposed them to that they just never thought they would do or imagine. They would see it on TV, but never thought they would experience it themselves at such an early age.
Right. So did they catch anything when they were out there? Did they get any pheasants?
Yeah, yeah, they hit a couple of pheasants and actually cleaned them.
Wow.
Cleaned a couple homes. So
That's what's up. That's what's up. I know they were excited about that, man. And that's big, and I definitely commend you for that. Because, I mean, we need more black men, particularly in our communities, showing these youth that there are alternatives to what they're seeing on television, even in their neighborhoods. Because, I mean, the image of the black male right now is suffering. You know what I'm saying? And so this is something that is major in our community. And I think our community recognizes that. And this past week, they awarded you, Kansas City Black United Front, awarded you with the Pan-African Charles Miller Outstanding Community Service Award. Talk about that. What it was like receiving that for you, my man.
It was unexpected. First off, I don't do the things for the awards, so I don't really look at the things that I do as award worthy. I think it's something that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I receive it, it is like, it's a great honor, first off. It just, I'm just here to do the work. If somebody wants to give me an award, I'm greatly appreciative of it. And just from experiencing Kwanzaa really the last 4 or 5 years, I was just amazed at, just hearing the accomplishments of the people who came before me, that they thought enough to honor me with that award. And so, like I said, I was surprised and grateful for it, but I don't do it for the awards. I just do it because it's the work that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
You look at our past and you see the sacrifices that people have made for us, and somewhere along the line we dropped the ball. And there's things that happened that made us drop the ball, forces against us. But I'm just doing the work and trying to pick that ball back up and continue the work that needs to be done.
Well, for what it's worth, man, in my humble opinion, you're definitely fully deserving of that particular award because of, just the mentoring project alone, and the touching of young people's lives, because our young people, man, are seemingly hopeless, and so for them to have someone out there that knows that they cares and that's there for them on a regular and exposing them to so many great things is truly something that makes an impact in our community, man. So big up for that. Let's transition and talk about a matter. And let me just do a quick station identification. This is Hebrew Vision Live. We're here putting in work with Dre Taylor this evening. Definite light and pillar in our community as a young African brother here in Kansas City. So tune in and we'll definitely get to continue this conversation. Now Valley Aquaponics, man. This is something that blows my mind. How did this come about?
It came about, my uncle introduced me to, he was doing hydroponics before, and so he introduced me to aquaponics back in 2011.
Okay.
And so he was talking about, you can grow vegetables and rocks with fish and all this stuff. And I was like, man, this is crazy. So I started watching YouTube, and then shortly after, there was a seminar, a workshop at East High School with a guy named Will Allen. So it was somebody I was looking at on YouTube, and he was like, one of the leaders or the main guys in aquaponics. So he was coming here to Kansas City. And so me, my uncle, my grandfather attended this workshop with Will Allen. And Will Allen, if you're not familiar with Will Allen, he's like one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people because he grows 1 million pounds on less than 3 acres of land.
What?
Which is like unheard of. And yes, it's crazy. So
he's an African brother, right?
We built a small little system. What was it?
He's an African brother, right? He's black, right?
Yeah. He's black. Lives up in Milwaukee. And so we built built a small little 4x4 system. We all went home to our individual homes, and we built a small little system at our homes. And so that was back in 2011. So we tinkered with it. And so I was just doing my research. And back in 2013, when I started my mentoring, I said, you know what, I want to incorporate aquaponics inside of my mentoring some way, somehow. And so about 2014 hit, and I was like, you know what, how about we just get a greenhouse? And so I started coming up with the idea of getting a greenhouse, and I found a nonprofit to partner with to write grants to get this greenhouse and start. And so during that time period, I went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to his facility, which is called Growing Power, and I went up there for a workshop. And so I was blown away. It's different when you see it on TV or on YouTube than when you actually go in there. To go in there dead in the winter, you see vegetables growing in there, and it's like 70 degrees inside.
That's crazy. That's an impact. That's amazing.
In dead of winter.
Yeah.
And so I seen what they was doing. I built a small little system there. And once we did that, I came back home, and I tried to hit the ground running. So I figured out how to write grants and so forth, and did that, and put my foot to the pedal and kept pushing to what we have now.
So let's talk about
what
what is Now Valley Aquaponics? Where is it? What's the aim of it? What do you all want to accomplish? Just give us the rundown.
Now Valley Aquaponics is Now Valley Aquaponics 100,000-pound food project. So we'll try to do 100,000 pounds of food on less than an acre of land. I say 100,000 pounds of food, 50,000 pounds of tilapia, 70,000 pounds of vegetables. But I actually think I could probably do close to 200,000 pounds of food on that property. So I want to, under-promise and over-deliver what I'm able to accomplish. And so this got a provisional patent on the system on what I'm doing. First, it was kind of what we're doing is going vertical, 4 tiers. So I went up 4 levels, 9 feet tall inside of our greenhouse. So it was kind of inside of a greenhouse what we're doing. And we have an integrated system to feed our tilapia naturally by raising our own insects inside there. And so that's primarily what our patent is on, is how we're naturally using nature to feed our tilapia, as opposed to, the fish meal, which considers other fish that they fish out the ocean to feed other fish, which makes no sense. And so our goal is to, create at least 3 to 5 jobs for people around the community to work there, to provide access to healthy organic food in the area. It's a lot easier to get a gun than it is to get something organic in that area.
Man.
And so if we're able to, provide that and produce that, that's what we're trying to do at a price lower than what they can get, a food that's not as healthy as what we can provide. So they get organic prices at, a lower rate than you would get something at, a regular grocery store. And where we're located, up and down the street all day, you see people walking to Family Dollar, getting their meals from there. So they come back with sacks, and that's their dinner or that's their lunch or breakfast that they get at Family Dollar. And so if we're able to provide them, healthier choices, then that's what we're trying to do in the community.
Right. And the impact that's going to make is crucial because, of course, our diets are killing us. And you talked about a little bit at Kwanzaa, but talk about that, what you see the impact that's going to make on our community health-wise.
It's going to make a huge impact. We have a community garden outside of our fence, and it's free for the people in the community to come get whatever they want to get. And so people always, people always talk about security, what I'm going to do about people breaking in, and we haven't had any break-ins or any vandalism since we started, and that's because we have a huge buy-in from the community. And so, giving people free food, they have an investment inside our property, so they want to see great things happen because they're invested into what we got going. A lot of people has never ate everything that we planted there, so it's a lot of vegetables from eggplants. You'd be surprised, from eggplants to cucumbers, different vegetables that people never ate. No matter the age. I had a lady live across the street, never had an eggplant. And she was around 70 years old.
Wow.
I had a young lady who didn't know. Well, a lot of people didn't know cucumbers or pickles are made from cucumbers. So it's a lot of education needs to go around in the city because at these stores they don't really have, all these vegetables or access to these vegetables that we're able to grow and show people how to cook these type of vegetables. So it's a huge impact, showing people how to grow their own food. And so even in our community garden, we had a big turnout where it was people from the community. It was a girl walking down the street. Her mother said she needed community service hours. So, come out here this weekend, we planted. So she came out, and after talking to her, she said she wanted to be a chef. So, and she told me what she liked to cook with, and we grew some of that food for her, when she was in high school. So, and she was able to see it grow and pick from the garden. And so these are some of the little things that you can't measure and see. Even when we're not there, there's people coming with sacks or grocery sacks to pick up vegetables. So you feed people you don't even see, so you're impacting families that you don't even know. So this is, part of what we actually trying to do as far as the impact on what we're doing. And then it's especially good to see, for people in the community, see somebody black doing it in the neighborhood.
Right.
As an example for them, if he did it, I can do it. I'm nobody special. You know what I mean? I'm not the smartest person in the world. I have a little bit of drive, a little bit of know-how, but if I can do it, a lot of other people can do it. And I'm not opposed to showing them how to do it. So long as they're willing to learn. And so I got a good core group of people that I'm around who, a team that we're just trying to build our team, and it's enough for everybody to eat. So that's essentially what we're trying to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know that there were a few setbacks that the initiative suffered from. Is there anything you may want to talk about that without really saying names or anything, but just some of the challenges that you had to overcome in order to continue this wonderful effort?
Yeah, we had a conflict of interest with our partner, our nonprofit partner. We seen things two different ways, and it played out in the public, in the paper, and eventually we settled out and we obtained a greenhouse, and we just looked to move forward and move past those situations. And it's in the right hands of the correct people, of me, who actually started and originated. So, the community, it was just good to see the community, the city, funders, and everybody else to come out and support me because, this is my vision and my work that I put in. So it was only right that, things worked out the way it did, so we just moving forward now, man. It's 2017, we leaving all that stuff behind, and we're just going to keep on building.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a new day, so we're just going to keep on building. That's the whole plan.
Right.
So that's why we call it now Valley Aquaponics, because, it's like the highest form of civilization. So we can always talking about the different dynasties and what we've done, but if we can't build, then what's the use of talking about it? And so we want to become masters of the science and math and astrology and chemistry and biology and horticulture and everything else. So, what better way than to teach people how to actually do it instead of just talking about it? So that's why we built it and called it now Valley Aquaponics.
And that's revolutionary. And you talked about that. I even heard Killer Mike talking about it. How many of y'all growing your own food? How many of y'all hunting? How many of y'all, doing what it takes to sustain yourself if all this stuff shuts down? And this is a major effort by the community that is going to continue that. And in light of that, I also understand that there is a food co-op that you are also looking to establish as well. Can you talk about that as well, my brother?
Yeah. posted something online. It was a response to police brutality or the police shooting or something. And sometimes I get tired. I ain't gonna say I get tired, but people feel to do what they want to do. So it was like a lot of Black Lives Matter, and I thought we was wasting a lot of time and energy appealing to someone's moral sense who has a history of doing what they doing. And so I thought it was a waste of time to appeal to somebody's moral sense, and not only time but energy. I think more energy can be put towards, doing for self and growing food, as I think growing food is the most revolutionary thing you can do, especially when you look at us as a group and health-wise. I think that's one industry that we can really control and do for ourselves. And so that's how the food co-op initially got started, because I made a post online and it was like 900 likes and over 600, 700 shares on Facebook. Because I listed like maybe 10 different things we need to do: buy lots, grow food on them, start a co-op, and a couple other things I listed on there. But once I posted it, I was like, you know what, I might have something here. And so 2 or 3 weeks later, I had a meeting scheduled, and over 200 people showed up.
Wow.
And, for a meeting, I was like, this is crazy. 200 people show up for a meeting, that was just put on 2 weeks in advance. So that let me know right there how hungry people was about the co-op. And so about, taking control over their own food system. And so we'll be planting 200 fruit trees this spring at Satchel Paige off 51st. I believe that's Indiana, I believe. Right behind Satchel Paige Stadium on Swope Parkway.
Okay.
And so we'll be planting 200 fruit trees. So you're talking about in 20 years, 1 million pounds of food that we'll be doing. Every year after fruit grow, maybe after 3 years, we'll be doing almost 50,000 pounds of fruit, on that property every year. 50,000 pounds of fruit. Like I said, it's easier to get a gun in the community than it is to get an organic apple, get an organic pear, get an organic peach. Where can you find that in the community? So these are some of the things we're trying to set the tone for others to follow. And so if we're able to do this here in Katy Temple, then we can go in other cities and show them how they can do the same thing and take control. We have the money, we have the resources, we just have to pull it together and say, hey, we see a working model here, we want to duplicate the same thing. So essentially what we're trying to do, man, is just set the tone for everybody else and say, hey, this is one thing that we can take control over is our food. We can create commerce with our food. We have land, we just need to use it. We cutting grass, why not just grow food? So that's essentially how the co-op got started. So we got a strong group of people that's committed to the co-op of learning and growing and starting this whole new thing and just starting this whole food revolution.
So you traveled to a couple of cities. I believe you went to Los Angeles, to Detroit, I believe it was. And you also got some information about some of the co-ops that they got going there. Talk about your experiences with that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I actually was in Oakland. Okay. I got a couple people I know from Detroit. Well, it's like a black farmers, people are in contact with across the country, actually, different cities. I went to Oakland last year to a black urban growers conference. And so I was able to see some co-ops they was doing there, meet some farmers from all over the country and see what they were doing. So just doing a lot of networking with them and just growing. And some people have co-ops of, maybe, small little co-op stores. Some people had a co-op of a guy named Jim Emery had a co-op, maybe like 9,000 people. He's been part of a co-op for maybe like 20 years. So just networking with people, man, just trying to see what others are doing and seeing how we can implement and do the same thing, if not better, or just to get it going, just to give people hope to say, hey, we can do this. And so sometimes you got to go out and seek the knowledge of what others are doing. And you got to go out and get it, and that's how you get things started. So just network with people from all over the country, just taking that knowledge and bringing it back and trying to, teach others what I'm learning.
Right,
To reach one, teach one. And so, I'm just doing my part, man. That's all I'm trying to do is just do my part while I'm here.
No doubt. That's essential, brother. And you're not only a national traveler, you've also become an international traveler too, man, in your trip across them seas. Where did you go and what was that like?
I went to Guangzhou, China. It's about a couple hours from north of Hong Kong.
Okay.
And so inside, like I mentioned before, inside of our greenhouse, we growing insects to feed our tilapia. So I was on YouTube and I seen, one of the world's largest breeder for these insects. They was doing an equivalent of maybe 20 tons of insects per day.
Wow, 20 tons?
So I was like, you know what? I need to go to the source. If I'm gonna do this, I might as well learn from the people who's doing it, and they're far more advanced than here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made that connection with them over a couple months, and decided me and my business partner to travel down there to see exactly what they were doing and maybe partnering up. And so we went down there and we was amazed at what those guys was doing there. And we see an opportunity of what we can possibly do here in the States and with the technology they were doing and what we were already doing here. So it was a great experience, just to go abroad and experience someone else's culture, see how they're doing, how they're living, and just, get away from the norm.
Mm-hmm.
You always hear things, on the news or somebody else's perception about somebody, and it's always better to experience things for yourself and go and see than always take somebody else's word for it. So
right.
It was a great experience, and might be going back maybe the end of the month, the 1st of February, just to try to, solidify the partnership if possible.
So it'd be like a joint effort, not a joint effort, but just a partnership in developing the insects. What would be the scope of that, if you don't mind discussing that?
Yeah, the scope of it is multifaceted. So use the insects for feed for chickens, pigs, and reptiles. And so it's a natural feed source.
Okay.
And so that's one side of it. Another side of it is you composting food waste. In America, we waste 40% of our food. And so it goes to a landfill. Mm-hmm. It creates methane, which creates greenhouse gases, which causes global warming. And so if we're able to compost the food waste into soil, and they excrete like a pheromone that these insects do, that it causes, it's like a natural insect repellent, and these pheromones that they spray out into the soil. Okay. So when they compost this soil, it's like crop management. So now you don't have to spray all those chemicals in your soil because it's like a natural insect repellent inside this soil. So now you're taking food waste that would normally go to a landfill, create methane gas and global warming. Now you're taking this compost and you're applying it to plants, and you're growing plants organically without all those chemicals in there. So it's a multifaceted project that's sustaining. It's nature, it's community, it's building, and so and it's something that's not really been doing. Nothing has been going on here in the States on a large scale. And so this is what we're trying to bring back, more of the technology on a larger scale than what we're probably able to do right now.
I mean, that's going back to like just, the simplistic lifestyle of an agrarian, man. And it's like with all these different technological advances, the food quality has like decreased. I mean, all the different pesticides, and this is tremendous, man. I didn't know it was to that scope, and that's why I want to really bring this out and let the people know what we got going on in little old Kansas City, Missouri. You know what I'm saying? And I find that very important to really, blast this on an international scope, because we got people listening in from South Africa, we got people listening in from France, from Israel, we got people all over listening in, and I find it important to let them know what it is that's taking place in this city. And that can definitely be something that can stretch, and you can go and show that paradigm that you already got going to other places, man, because we need this globally. This is a global need, man. Definitely is.
Yeah, it's a global need. I mean, all over. I mean, it's, we wasting food. We shouldn't be wasting it anyway. We should find some way to give it to somebody, especially with hunger. But the food, food that's being wasted, being composted, and I mean, there's even places in Africa where they eat these insects. So it's like 2 billion people in the world who do eat insects. And so with the rising population, you're talking about a way to feed people. And then when you look at some of the feed sources for it, maybe the fish or pigs or chickens, they grow in soy, and the majority of the crops that's being grown is for soy to feed these animals, and like it makes no sense, to do so. So cutting down on that soy growing, and produce crops that we should actually be eating instead of soy. It just makes sense. It's like we're working backwards. It's like they're trying to figure out how to destroy the planet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like we got to figure out ways, man, to slow them down. It's like people just want to, just consume, and extract resources until there's no more resources left.
Yep. And the best way to do it is how it's being done with Dre Taylor, is taking it back.
And try to find sustainable ways, man, to do so. So that's definitely what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Man, this is tremendous. Man, any other thing you want to share? Any word for the youth? Any word for the food growers? For people who are farmers, people who just are maybe just growing their own food in their house in pots. Anything that you want to share? Words of encouragement, wisdom.
Grow some food. Plant something. You know what I mean? Put something in the ground this spring. Reach one, teach one. Show somebody how to do something. Mentor one kid. Take an hour out your day to do something positive in the community. That's all it takes. At least 1 hour out of the month, at least, I would say. To do something. Be an example. Man, so many different things we can do. So many little things you can do. Wave to your neighbor. Pick up some trash. I mean, these are all small things that, we don't really think about, but this is really how you build and solidify the community. Just the simple things, that people take heed to and it just catch on like wildfire.
Yeah.
And so them are some of the things I just learned, just some of the simple things that you can do. So it's nothing on a large scale to say, you got to go out and do this and that. No, one thing leads to another. My greenhouse started with a little 4x8 system, 4 feet by 8 feet. Now I'm 30. One thing leads to another. So that's essentially what we're trying to do.
Man, that's powerful. That is extremely powerful, my brother. So if somebody wanted to get in touch with Dre Taylor and find out how to go about, getting involved with Nile Valley, getting involved with Males to Men, getting involved with the food co-op, how would they go about getting in touch with you?
Just email me at males to men, MALES, and that's TO, men, MEN, @gmail.com. So males to men @gmail.com, and I respond via email.
Okay. And you have some Facebook pages as well. People can check out what you got going on.
Yeah, you got a Males to Men Facebook page. You got a Casey Urban Farmers Co-op page. I think I might be my friend list capacity on Facebook. But Dre Taylor, you can follow me, I guess, there.
Yeah.
It's weird saying that. But that's how you can contact.
Yeah. Peeked out on that. It's all good, though, because, them networks got you traveling this world, and learning and bringing it back to your home, man. So that's huge, very huge.
Yeah, it's a world market, so we got to take advantage of the world market. We can't always sit and wait for people to, hand feed us. We got to go out and get it and be a part of the world market and don't always be consumers
Right.
and let them dictate, how we operate.
Get back to the producers, and that's essentially what you're doing, Brother Taylor. Is you're producing a lot of work, for the youth, for the community. I mean, this is something that we have to really put our hands in to the coals and make sure that we contributed. And so, I'm gonna definitely be more in contact with you and see how my family and I can get more involved in this effort, because it is something that is needed, as we're a holistic family as well. So, man, this is right up our alley. So definitely, man. But yeah, I mean, any other thoughts? Any closing thoughts, man? I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got a lot on your plate. But any closing thoughts you may want to share with our listeners?
Just thanks for having me on. And like I said, get in touch with me if you're trying to grow some food and want to start a co-op. Try to start a co-op wherever you at. Not only a food co-op, but a real estate co-op, a child care co-op. So many different co-ops we can start that will benefit us. As far as it's crazy we pay the amount at child care, and we can start our own co-ops to do so. A homeschooling co-op. So many different things we can do. Within ourselves. So hopefully this get somebody the idea or the energy or an example or the imagination to start their own. So hopefully they take something from this conversation and start building with it.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's
So
powerful.
I guess I'll leave with a quote. John Henry Clark said, if it takes 100 years to build a railroad, if I start today, I know I got 99 more years to go. So we look at the long haul, but if we start something, we might not see the finish. Our kids might not be, but maybe their kids able to see the finish. But they'll never see it if we don't start it. So hopefully, that inspires somebody to do something for themselves or their community or their people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's powerful. Hey, a journey of 1,000,000 miles begins with one step. That's how it go. Man, thank you for taking your time out your schedule to come on here and share what you're doing and how you putting in work, man. It's tremendous. Definitely an honor to have you on our show. And to know that you care about your people and your community, and that you're doing what needs to be done to make that impact, my brother. So many, many, many blessings to you and all your efforts and everything that you do, my brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we will be in touch in the near future. So keep your ear out. I'll shoot you information. Keep me in the loop, and we'll go forward from there. All right.
That'll work. I appreciate it, brother. You take care.
No doubt. You do the same, sir. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings to you.
Yes, sir.
Later.
And so that is our interview with Brother Dre Taylor. He is truly a star in the community in his efforts to bring life, to bring a resurgence in self-determination, the principle of Kujichagulia, of cooperative economics, of collective work and responsibility. All these principles that are mentioned and upheld during the Kwanzaa celebration, he's doing every day, and this is something that we all need to charge ourselves to get engaged somehow, some way, some shape, some form, some fashion, in doing the same thing, man, and making the impact in our surrounding community, because this is where change starts. And in his opening statement about him dealing with Obama and hearing him speak and saying that he needs to be the change, or we should be the change that we want to see, that struck a chord in him. And there's chords that we should have struck within us as well that inspires us to do similar things. And so, it really hits me when it comes to dealing with food. And we know that the scriptures have given us a paradigm for understanding food and how we are to eat. And when we go to the beginning and we look at the scriptures and what they say in terms of the plants and things of that nature, you will see that it talks about these food that are contained, the food that is contained in the earth. And so it talks about in Genesis chapter 1 where these seeds, these fruit yielding trees, right? It talks about how in Genesis 1:11, let the earth, Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the plant that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself and on the earth, and it came to be so. And the earth brought forth grass, the plant that yields seed, according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself, according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. So then he goes down several verses later, and he speaks of man being created, and he tells man that he says in verse 29 of the same chapter, Elohim said, see, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it is for food. And so when you hear works that like Brother Dre Taylor is doing going in urban communities, because our urban communities are food deserts. There is a lack of quality food outlets in urban cores. And this is intentional. This is systematic. Because when you also look in the urban core, you will also see higher rates of diabetes. Young people, children now developing type 1 and type 2 diabetes. You're seeing heart disease. You're seeing obesity, right? You're seeing all of these severe, preventable health diseases that are completely taking a huge effect, negative effect on our people. And the number one reason is because of our diet, how we are eating. And it is a huge setback to our health, for which if we don't have, we have nothing. And so we have to really understand the importance of diet, of exercise, of sufficient rest, of a good quality intake of water, of receiving sunlight, of meditation and prayer, things like this, which unfortunately in the urban core, I won't say more times than not, but often is not taken advantage of. We don't have the quality food outlets and the options to eat quality food in the urban core. Like he said, you got, Family Dollar. And they got all this processed food and all these preservatives and all these additives and all these toxins that are in the foods from which our people are eating. And so this is why we're sick. And so when you see efforts like the Nile Valley Aquaponics and things of that nature and the food co-op, we have to take advantage of that and make this known to our people and make it accessible to our people. And these are the things that can revitalize us, as relates to just dealing with some basics of life. Because first, we got to meet people where they are. A lot of times we don't even address the basic needs in wanting to be ministers of the good news, of wanting to, bring the word of the Most High to somebody. How you going to do that when somebody's hungry? You know what I'm saying? You got to meet people where they are and assist them in getting what they need in order to really become functional and even receptive. And so, these are just some very important points that should be brought to our attention. As relates to food, though, going back to these fruit bearing trees and the seed from the earth, there's a food color wheel that I want to share with you all. That is very interesting. And we're going to start with the reds, okay? And this is dealing with the red fruits. You got like strawberries and even apples and things of that nature. But in these red fruits and vegetables, they contain nutrients, tomatoes, such as lycopene. They call it ellagic acid, quercetin, and hesperidin. These nutrients reduce the risk of prostate cancer. They lower blood pressure. They reduce tumor growth and cholesterol levels. They scavenge harmful free radicals and support joint tissue in cases of arthritis. So these red foods, these red fruits and vegetables, this life, right? It is essential that we eat these to avoid that. Prostate cancer is huge in our community. High blood pressure, hypertension is crucial. Cancer is wreaking havoc in our communities. Cholesterol levels, right? All these toxins and free radicals that are being consumed and are in the air. Well, if you eat more red foods, peppers, right? You eat those things, they will assist you in protecting those things and rejuvenating those essential aspects of our health and our wellness and our ease, right? So then you have oranges, carrots, right? Pumpkins, sweet potatoes, things of that nature. They contain beta carotene. They contain zeaxanthin, flavonoids, lycopene, potassium, and vitamin C. These nutrients reduce age-related, macular degeneration. They reduce age-related macular degeneration. Their nutrition does this. They they also reduce the risk of prostate cancer, lower cholesterol and blood pressure, promote collagen formation and healthy joints. They fight harmful and free radicals. They encourage alkaline balance. Alkalinity is so essential to us because when your system is above a 7.0 alkalinity base, no disease can dwell within your system. If you have acidic levels, if you have constant, what they call that acid reflux, it is because your body is too acidic. You need to lower those levels. And these oranges are some of the fruits that you can eat to reduce that. They help with alkalinity. They encourage that balance. They repair damage of DNA and work with magnesium and calcium. Magnesium is an essential nutrient or mineral that is found in our body that we need. Many deficiencies that we suffer from, a disease that we suffer from, lots of them are a result of magnesium deficiencies because we're stripped of nutrition. When we're eating fast foods and we're putting them in the microwave and we're eating, just all these things that are not real foods, what we're doing is we're starving ourselves to death through calorie intake and lack of nutrition. And this is why our diets are so essential. And this is why the Torah provided us with a code, a dietary code, or instructions. Some want to call it a law. There are laws to it. If you break it, that you will receive sickness. So there are laws related to it. But the Most High gave us instructions to follow in order to maintain optimal health. Okay, so this effort, again, is crucial. And to grow 100,000 pounds of fruits and vegetables is imperative to a community that's suffering from nutricide. And you can look up something called Codex Alimentarius, and we'll get into that a little bit as relates to the depopulation plan that is well at work. All right. But I'm going to come back here to this food chart, the food color wheel. Let's also look at yellows. Yellows, bananas, pineapples, squash, corn, things of that nature. They contain beta cryptothanixin and carotenoids, lutein, and xenothanin, which support intercellular communication. Your cells are communicating. They promote and support intercellular communication. This means our cells communicate with each other to maintain the overall functionality of our system. This is where the true cells are, not cell phones and things of that nature, are cells within us. They prevent heart disease. They reduce the risk of cataracts and age-related macular degeneration. Just eating bananas, just eating a yellow pear, just eating some pineapples and carrots. These things are beneficial, crucial to our development. Greens. Greens contain chlorophyll, fiber, lutein, zeaxanthin, magnesium, calcium, folate, vitamin C, beta carotene, which inhibit the action of carcinogens and promote healthy bodily function. They inhibit the action of cancer-causing agents, which is all a carcinogen is, and they promote healthy bodily function. Greens, this is why you got to get your greens. Greens are crucial. Chlorophylls, right? You got to get like your seaweed, your algae, right? You got to get your spinach and your greens, and those things that are crucial. The avocados to our development and our bodily functions. The purples and blues, they contain phytochemicals such as anthocyanins and phenolics, which are powerful antioxidants which help reduce the risk of diseases such as cancer, heart disease, and Alzheimer's. So eat your purples and blues if you want to reduce the risk of Alzheimer's and even somewhat inhibit the onset of it. Improve memory and cell communication and slows the process of aging. All this from eating food from nature. And you can grow these things in your own yard. Whites. They contain beta-glucans, EGCG, SDG, flavonoids, alanine, and lignans, which activate natural killer B and T cells. It supports immunity and balance hormone levels. It balances our hormone levels. So the whites, the cauliflowers and the onions, potatoes, things of that nature, mushrooms, these things assist with immune support. And so it's also interesting to note how a lot of the fruits and vegetables have an appearance of organs. And when you eat these fruits and vegetables, you can see how they address that which it looks like. You take a walnut, for instance. When you crack it open, look at it, it looks like your brain. It has a shell casing that is very tough to crack. And when you open it, you can see the meat or the tissue of it, the flesh, so to speak. Well, that is also very similar to the brain. And the walnuts are great brain foods to eat. When you slice a carrot down the middle, not longwise but shortwise, and you look on the inside, it looks like an eye. Well, carrots, of course, are good because they can improve your eyesight and help you with eye health. Broccoli. Broccoli, if you turn it upside down, looks like your lungs. Well, broccoli is a great food to help you keep your respiratory system strong. Broccoli. Right? You open up a tomato, it looks like your heart. Well, it has 4 chambers. And so the tomato is good for your cardiac system. Avocado. You open that up, it looks like a womb almost. And avocado is great for women's reproductive systems to keep them healthy. And figs hanging on a tree look like men's testes. And those are great for the men's reproductive health. Figs. So, I mean, the Creator in its ultimate wisdom provided us with all these things to keep ourselves healthy, vigorous, strong. Couple that with prayer, with study, with meditation, with exercise. And these things can increase our lifespan. And if you notice, scripturally speaking, the pre-flood patriarchs and matriarchs lived for hundreds of years. The oldest being Methuselah at 969 years, as recorded in the scriptures. Whether or not that's real, I don't know. But the reality of the matter is this. We, as humans, live some of the shortest lives that there is. Trees live hundreds of years. Turtles, crocodiles. These creatures live for hundreds of years. Roaches live for hundreds of years. But why are we, the ultimate creation of all of existence, only finding ourselves living at most up to maybe 120 years nowadays? Well, there are fountains of youth. There are ways to remain vigorous even up into the old age of the 100 years plus. Because the Creator has endowed us with that. But we have to completely change how we think, change how we eat, change how we act, change how we speak in order to embrace life. Because a lot of the times what we're not doing is embracing life. We're dealing with illusionary realities, simulations, and counterfeits. You think of this food now, the fruits and vegetables with no seeds. You think of this genetically modified organisms, they call them. What is that? It's unnatural food. Because what they're doing is they're splicing two same-sex seeds to create a fruit or a vegetable. So that naturally will not produce any more seeds. And what they're finding in these foods that are being modified, that they have harmful side effects on the people that consume it. They test it on animals. Animals are having tumors. It's not a good thing to consume those types of foods because those foods are not real. And this leads to a article that I want to get into about Codex Alimentarius. And again, this is so important that Brother Dre Taylor and his other members of his squad are taking control of the food production in the community. We have to seek to do that. My wife and I, we've been growing food for about the past 3 years now. Making our own tinctures, making our toothpaste, making our own deodorant, and just really taking control of what we're putting in and on our body. It's imperative that starts to be done, and we resort back to being producers, as Brother Taylor has said. But the Codex Alimentarius, this is an article said, what is it and how does it affect you and your health? This is by Paul Anthony Taylor from the Dr. Rath Foundation website. He says the Codex is not an easy subject to get to grips with. With over 20 committees meeting on an annual basis and published reports comprising a total of over 1,400 pages in 2005 alone, most people are blissfully unaware of the extent to which its activities affect their health. Read on to discover. Well, here we go. So what is the Codex? The World Trade Organization uses Codex guidelines and standards as the benchmark in the adjudication of international trade disputes involving foods. Its headquarters above are located in Geneva, Switzerland. The Codex Alimentarius Commission is the main global body that makes proposals to and is consulted by the Director General of the World Health Organization and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. You have the WHO, the World Health Organization, and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, which is called FAO. And these are related to all matters pertaining to the implementation of the joint FAO-WHO Food Standards Program. Established in 1963, the Commission's main purposes are stated in its procedural manual as being 1. Protecting the health of consumers, 2. Ensuring fair practices in the food trade, and 3. Promoting coordination of all food standards work undertaken by international governmental and non-governmental organizations. Unfortunately, however, and as we shall see, its activities do not protect the health of consumers, and the international food trade is anything but fair. At the time of writing, this is in 2006, the Commission presides over a total of 27 active subsidiary committees and ad hoc intergovernmental task forces, the main functions of which revolve around the drafting of standards, guidelines, and other related texts for foods, including food supplements. Once completed, these texts are presented to the Commission for final approval and adoption as new global standards. So how does Codex affect you and your health? Codex standards and guidelines now exist for virtually all foods. While the adoption by countries of various standards and guidelines developed by Codex is theoretically optional, the creation of the World Trade Organization on the 1st of January 1995 essentially changed their international status in that they are now increasingly used by the WTO as the benchmark in the adjudication of international trade disputes involving foods. As such, the potential threat of becoming involved in and losing such a dispute now effectively makes the adoption of Codex guidelines and standards mandatory, and that it leaves WTO member countries little or no option but to comply with them. Given, therefore, that a total of 149 countries are currently members of the WTO, and also that Codex standards or guidelines now exist for virtually every food one can name, this effectively means that the activities of Codex now directly affect the vast majority of people on the planet. In addition to dealing with ordinary foods, however, Codex also sets standards and guidelines for, amongst other things, vitamin and mineral food supplements, health claims, organic foods, genetically modified foods, food labeling, advertising, food additives, and pesticides residues. Significantly, therefore, and as we shall see below, in all of these areas, the evidence is now inescapable that Codex is increasingly putting economic interests, not the health and well-being of the consumer, it is putting economic interests, and particularly those of the pharmaceutical and chemical industries, before human health. These are called the lobbying interests, all right? Codex guideline for vitamin and mineral food supplements. The guideline for vitamin and mineral food supplements were adopted by the Codex Alimentarius Commission as a new global standard at its meeting in Rome, Italy, in July 2005. The guidelines for vitamin and mineral food supplements were adopted by the Codex Alimentarius Commission as a new global standard at its meeting in Rome, Italy, in 2005, drafted using the European Union's Restrictive Food Supplements Directive as a blueprint. The guidelines mandate the setting of restrictive upper limits on the dosages of vitamins and minerals, and the prohibiting of claims that vitamin and mineral supplements are suitable for use in the prevention, alleviation, treatment, or cure of disease. So they're saying, again, that you cannot make a claim that resorting to vitamins, minerals, supplements for preventing, alleviating, or treating, or even curing disease. It prohibits that. It outlaws it. As a result, and bearing in mind the growing mountain of evidence demonstrating the impressive health improvements that can be achieved via the use of nutritional supplements, it can be seen that far from protecting the health of consumers, the global enforcement of these guidelines would ensure that the sale of curative, preventative, and therapeutic health products remains the exclusive province of the pharmaceutical industry, big pharma, one of the most grossing, like, monetary industries that there are. Period. The pharmaceutical, big pharma, is just mega. It is huge as relates to its profit margin every year. And we're seeing it continually increase and grow because people are not receiving health care. They're receiving disease management. There's too many people sick who are reliant on pharmaceuticals as opposed to eating right. You eat right, you ain't got to worry about all that. And you serve the Most High in spirit and truth, you don't have to worry about all that. Health claims. The Codex General Guidelines on Claims protects the patent on the pharmaceutical industry's control of our healthcare systems. There are already several codex texts in existence that place restrictions upon the health benefits that can be attributed to food products, and perhaps the most significant of these is the Codex General Guidelines on Claims. Adopted in 1979 and revised in 1991, these guidelines are in some senses the very root of the codex problem in terms of placing severe restrictions upon natural forms of healthcare, alternative healthcare, homeopathics. They will call that not allopathic, but they will call that homeopathic, okay? And that they effectively seek to ensure that the only products that can make claims relating to the prevention, again, treatment and cure disease are once again pharmaceutical drugs. Specifically, and among other things, the Codex General Guidelines on Claims prohibit all claims implying that a balanced diet or ordinary foods cannot supply adequate amounts of all nutrients, and all claims that food production are suitable for use in the prevention, alleviation, treatment, or cure of diseases. As such, it can be seen that they essentially protect the patent, not the patient, not the consumer, the patent on the pharmaceutical industry's control of our healthcare systems. Organic foods. Organic foods have been receiving increased attention from Codex in recent years, and it is now increasingly clear that the Codex Committee on Food Labeling is attempting to water down global organic standards to permit the use of substances, here we go, such as sulfur dioxide, which can cause allergic reactions in some people, sodium nitrate, which are potentially carcinogenic and have been implicated in hyperactivity in children, carrageenan, for which there is evidence that it is associated with the formation of ulcers in the intestines and cancerous tumors in the gut. But they are allowing these substances to be implemented in food as their ingredients. Worse still, however, the Codex Alimentarius Commission recently gave the go-ahead for work to begin on the inclusion of ethylene in the Codex guidelines for the production, processing, labeling, and marketing of organically produced foods. Ethylene is used to artificially induce fruits and vegetables to ripen while they are in transit. And as such, its approval for use on organic foods would represent a disturbing step towards WTO-enforced acceptance of the same dubious and unnatural agricultural practices that non-organic foods are already subject to. Why does Codex want to water down organic standards in this way? On a basic level, it is simply because organic foods fetch higher prices than ordinary non-organic foods, and that as such, the large non-organic food producers see an easy opportunity to break into the market for organic foods and make larger profits. On a deeper level, however, organic foods promote better health than non-organic foods by virtue of the fact that they contain higher levels of micronutrients. And again, we are starving ourselves nutritionally and minerally, but we're getting all the calories and all the different additives and preservatives and toxins that are put into food, which is leading to our nutricide. We're killing ourselves with our forks and our knives. In addition, of course, organic foods don't contain pesticides, residues, or veterinary drugs or residues of veterinary drugs or genetically modified organisms either. Bearing in mind, therefore, that good health is not in the interest of the business with disease, this ultimately makes the increasing demand for organic foods a threat to the pharmaceutical and chemical industries, not only because organic foods promote good health, however, but also because they result in a lower demand for pesticides, veterinary drugs, and genetically modified foods, and thus in lower profits. This is about business to these people. It's not about ensuring the health of the planet and the people of the planet. It's about ensuring that these industries are fat. Moreover, and unlike genetically modified seeds, organic seeds cannot be patented. As such, given that some of the major players in the pharmaceutical and chemical industry, such as Bayer and BASF, and of course Monsanto, right, are also major players in the biotech industry, it can easily be seen that the rising popularity of non-patentable organic foods is in fact a serious and growing threat to the profits of the pharmaceutical industry's business with disease. They have a business with disease. There is no profits in cure. There's profits in disease and death. If you're healthy, you don't need a doctor. Why would you need a doctor if you have a clean bill of health? If you're eating the right foods, if you're exercising, if you're drinking water, if you're getting sufficient rest, if you're getting sunlight, if you're praying, you're doing everything that is maintaining your health, you don't need drugs, pharmaceuticals. But people have become so reliant on their drugs that it has completely kept the pharmaceutical industry just bustling with profits. Genetically modified foods now. The increasing popularity of food supplement, natural health practices, and organic food is a serious threat. Food supplements, right? Natural health practices and organic foods poses a serious threat to the pharmaceutical industry's business with disease. If you want to starve the beast, these are the things that you need to start doing. The Codex Alimentarius Commission, not only that, if you want to live, those are the things you need to start doing. The Codex Alimentarius Commission adopted its first guidelines and principles for genetically modified GM foods in 2003. These texts subsequently became instrumental in the United States, Canada, and Argentina, launching and winning a trade dispute as the WTO against the European Union, where it was argued that the EU had been applying a moratorium on the approval and importation of foods containing GM material. And there's some EU countries, and Russia, by the way, that are outlawing all GM foods. There are African countries that are also doing this. We don't want any of your seeds. We don't want none of your patents. Because we know that if you do that, that's going to lead to our dependence on you, number one, and you're going to kill our people. That's not what we want to do. Further guidelines and standards for GM foods or genetically modified are now in the process of being drafted by the Codex, and of course they're getting more sophisticated. The eventual adoption of these texts will further contribute to making the approval and importation of GM foods that comply with them mandatory for all WTO member countries. Crucially, therefore, the United States, Canada, and Argentina are also pushing for there to be no requirement for manufacturers or exporters of GM foods to disclose the presence of genetically modified organisms on their product labeling. And if this was a huge fight that had been taking place and that people are wanting their foods labeled, is this genetically modified or not? Let me know what's going on with this, because this is what people are wanting to know. They want to know what they're eating. Because if you don't know what you're eating, chances are you're putting death into your body. And so this is how this industry is moving forward. And it is a depopulation agenda. We have to clearly understand that. The National Security Memorandum, I believe 2000, clearly talks about that some of the attempts are to depopulate the planet, and one of the ways to do that is through foods. Continuing on. This is exactly what the big GM food manufacturers want, of course, as they have long realized that growing numbers of people are opposed to genetically modified food products, and moreover, that they will not be able to change public opinion about these products anytime soon. They've gotten clever and crafty with it. They've changed the names of things like high fructose corn syrup. They've changed the name of things like aspartame. They've changed all kinds of names, but it is the same toxic substance that they're putting in the food, in that they're just changing the name of it. And it's all legal in their system. So unlike the seeds for regular foods, the seeds for genetically modified foods can be patented. This essentially is the real key to which biotech companies are so desperate for these foods to be forced onto world markets, as the potential long-term profits are so colossal as to compare quite favorably with the market in pharmaceutical drugs. Given, therefore, that some of the major players in the pharmaceutical industry, such again as Bayer, Monsanto, and BASF, are also major players in the biotech industry, it can be seen that the pharmaceutical industry is once again positioning itself as the key beneficiary at Codex. They're in bed together. All of this here is in tandem to keep people sick through these modified foods in order to send them to the pharmaceutical industries through the doctors, who are getting nice stipends and bonuses for selling the pharmaceuticals, or getting the customers and the patients to take the pharmaceuticals in order to just exponentially make the profit margin of these industries go up. So as such, so far as the pharmaceutical industry is concerned, the only products that are worth producing are those that are patentable. Because of this, the risk of the rise in the popularity of food supplements, natural health practices, and even organic food, again, it represents a serious threat to the pharmaceutical industry. The financial interest groups behind the Codex Alimentarius know this only too well, of course, and as such are now engaged in desperate struggle to maintain their monopoly upon the healthcare industry and expand into genetically modified food production. Food labeling. A specific Codex committee to deal with food labeling issues, the Codex Committee on Food Labeling, CCFL, has been in existence since 1965. The issue of food labeling is particularly crucial to the further spreading of life-saving natural health information, as restrictions upon the written content of food labels contribute, along with those on advertising, to preventing nutritional supplement manufacturers from informing people of the proven benefits of dietary supplementation. Duke and the Doctor, I believe, is the name of the talk show that comes on. They have been through the ringers with the FDA because they had made claims that the supplements that they had on sale at their store had these proven health benefits. And they got gag orders on their show, and they got completely drained financially. I believe the wife was even supposedly going to jail, as she was the doctor, and she was making those claims. I guess it was a violation of her Hippocratic oath or something of that nature. And so they have been dealing with a lot of challenges as relates to, labeling and making the claims of the natural supplements that they were providing for their customers and their listeners. And so this is because of the lobbying interests of the pharmaceutical industry and these genetically modified food producers. And this is why, again, it's so important for us to take control of our own health, even though in some places it's illegal to even have a garden in your yard. They make that. You can't collect rainwater. You can't do these things because what is being done is that there is a complete, dictatorship and monopoly, as it talked about, of the food industry that's taking place, where we can't even control what we eat. And so the people, we have to become more and more aware of this and take control of our life and the food that we put into our mouth. And the best way to do that is to have your own garden. So crucially, therefore, the CCFL has refused to acknowledge the role of optimum nutrition in the prevention, alleviation, treatment, and cure of disease, and as such, rather than protecting the health of consumers, can be seen to be acting in the interest of the pharmaceutical industry, business with disease. food additives. I'm not going to deal with the advertising, but food additives. Codex has a specific committee that deals with the safety of food additives, one of the main functions of which is to establish their maximum permitted levels. So this is the most amount of, let's say, cyanide that you can have in apple juice, because apple juice naturally has cyanide in it, but you can only have this much cyanide in the apple juice, all right? You can only have this amount of bug, substances that are in your cereals. You can only have that much amount. Anything other than that is a violation, but you can have it in there. Just don't let this much be in there. So you're seeing what's going on. In all, the Codex Food Additive Index currently lists a total of around 300 individual additives, both synthetic, which is created in the lab, and natural, that it permits to be used in foods. However, while it may be the case that some artificial additives are essentially safe when consumed in small amounts and in isolation from one another, the reality is that no substantive consideration has been given by Codex to the fact that such chemicals like canola oil, which is called rapeseed, which is not a biodegradable plant, it's used to rather clean and lubricate like mechanical parts. Rapeseed is not supposed to be consumed. It is highly toxic, but they make canola oil by the droves, and people are swearing by canola oil. Same thing with agave nectar. Agave nectar is one of the biggest farces that there is. The honey that they're using is not even real honey anymore. And not to mention the other toxins and additives that are also present in foods, okay? So, as such, and to the benefit of their manufacturers, the cumulative long-term effect that the consumption of multiple patented chemicals and artificial additives has on the health of consumers is largely being ignored. We're not eating real food now. And this is not being addressed. So we have to take control of this ourselves. Diseases caused by aggravated by long-term consumption of pesticides increase the potential market for pharmaceutical drugs. You're going to need these drugs to hear this, as opposed to, let's say, taking activated charcoal, which will free up all those radicals and drive them out, as opposed to taking colloidal silver, as opposed to other different, natural supplements that can assist you in restoring your health. Revealingly, therefore, many artificial additives are being manufactured by some of the same pharmaceutical and chemical companies that would like to ban vitamin supplements and force genetically modified foods onto our dinner plates. And as is similarly the case with the pharmaceutical drugs and GM seeds, the main reason why many of these substances exist is because they can be patented, and patents equal higher profits. Pesticides. The Codex Committee on Pesticide Residues was formed in 1966 and is responsible for setting the maximum limits for pesticide residues in specific food items or in groups of food. And this is where Monsanto's really at the core of this, and not to mention they were the creators of the Agent Orange of the Vietnam War, but they also have that Roundup stuff that's killing people, right? Just like murderous pesticides. The runoff is just horrible. So once again, however, the safety or otherwise of each individual pesticide is generally examined in isolation, and the long-term effect that their collective presence might have upon the body, again, is mostly ignored. Given, therefore, that many of the dangerous chemicals are manufactured by pharmaceutical and chemical companies, it is not difficult to imagine that their widespread usage may be seen by these industries as having a dual financial benefit, and that they potentially increase the size of the market for, and hence the profits to be made from, the patented drugs used as treatments for any diseases that the long-term consumption might cause. In conclusion, Codex is not just about nutritional supplements. In fact, it is the primary political battlefield where the war is being waged about who will regulate and control the global food supply from farm to fork. The war is being waged by an increasingly tangled web of global authorities, big business, and financial interests, and as such, Trade and profit are its prime goals, not human health. Current indications suggest that the long-term financial winners in the battle to gain control over the world's food supply are likely to be the pharmaceutical and chemical industries, especially so given that the adoption of still further Codex guidelines for foods derived from biotechnology now seems almost inevitable. As a result, our freedom of choice, our future health, and the environment itself are all now clearly at risk. Good nutrition and optimal health threaten the pharmaceutical industry's business with disease because they reduce the size of the marketplace for synthetic drugs. Those are created in the lab. However, food that is free of pesticides or pesticide residues, artificial additives, and other contaminants can, by definition, only come about as a result of lower global usage or, ideally, the entire elimination of these chemicals. This, of course, would not be in the financial interests of the pharmaceutical and chemical companies that manufacture such substances, as it would clearly result in lower profits, better health for entire populations, and a consequent reduction in the use of synthetic drugs. In conclusion, therefore, while it may have been somewhat out of the limelight recently, the Codex Alimentarius Commission's support for the business with disease has continued unabated, and the wide scope of its activities makes it a significant danger to the future health of all humanity. Do we want to see a world where our access to safe, nutritious food and effective dietary supplements is restricted and controlled by pharmaceutical and chemical interests? If not, then we must act now before it is too late. So this is why the effort that Brother Dre Taylor is taking is essential to the global reality of humanity's health. And any way, shape, form, or fashion that you can get involved with it or form your own co-op in your own community garden, I fully encourage and suggest that we undertake that effort, because this is going to ensure our survival. If we don't take our life in our own hand and trust that to the Most High and let the spirit that the Most High invests in his righteous and obedient servants, well, we're only giving our life up to the side of the darkness. And that never leads to life. Never leads to life. So, man, I pray that everything that we have shared with you all today with Brother Dre Taylor, the mentoring of the youth to dealing with the food co-op and the garden, has been an inspiration to you, because it surely has been to me, knowing the importance of what is required for us to thrive. And if we're going to thrive, and if we're going to live, well, we got to do what's required. And that is to take control of our own food supply. So I want to thank you all for choosing to listening in to Hebrew Vision Live this evening, where we discuss putting in work with Brother Dre Taylor, who was our feature interview today. And then the just concluding thoughts of yours truly, Mikael Corbin Yahoo. Next week, we're going to have Brother Greg Kalasi and his GK gear on our show. We're going to feature this small up-and-coming clothing line that is going to be here out of Kansas City. And so, as a small up-and-coming podcast, we're looking to also, support others who are up-and-coming. And that's why we're dealing with, people on this level here. As we had a very dynamic interview last week with sharing labor pain and dealing with the benefits and joys of home birth. And so next week we're going to be dealing with a small entrepreneurial effort and get inside of his mind and his little ideology. Now I won't say little, but his ideology next week as relates to what he's wanting to accomplish with this clothing line. So join us next week here, same Hebrew time, same Hebrew station, as we deal with these matters in our community. And so with no further ado, I want to close out how we open. Yes, indeed. Thank you all. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May the Most High cause his countenance to shine upon you. And may the Most High lift up his face unto you and give you peace. Shalom alaikum.